Okay.
We can officially start.
Cue me when to start.
How's everybody doing? Wow, Susie was really powerful, and that made me feel even more powerful. That's fantastic. It's been really incredible. I'm so pleased and honored to have you here. We're gathering everybody into the room so I can begin. So nice to see some familiar faces and to get to know new people. And we'll be getting to get underway here in a moment. We're running a really tight ship. And I get in trouble from Megan if it's not really tight. Because many know, if you watch my videos, I can talk for hours. Let's see a hand, show of hands anyway, too. How many people have watched my videos? All right, and this is the 7th seal video, because as many of you know, we do have deep disclosure videos, so yes, the 7th seal videos. All right, so I've got a timer on myself. I've got to time myself and keep a tight indication, because I would love to speak for 5 hours. But I'm not going to put your butts through that. And how many people have read my book? That's another thing I'd like to know, because I'm going to mention something about that. Fantastic. Several of you. So version, a new version. I'm updating everything with more, because I know where the breadcrumbs lead now. And you're going to get a look at the end of that road today. But I've expanded, and that's what I have out there, the expanded revised version on my table, and I'm doing that to my first 3 volumes. I'm working on the second one right now. And so what we're going to do here today is I'm going to play some videos and speak in between, and that's going to help me stay on target, because I only have an hour and I'm trying to tell you the secret of the universe in an hour. And I'm also going to give you something that has never been given before, both on 2 accounts.
I'm going to give a little background on how all this happened.
Oh, I'm out of time? Okay, let's do it.
I had a dream, and the very next day, that dream happened just the very same way that I dreamt it. And I was like, oh my God. There is more going on than meets the eye in this reality. And a wild ride it would become. When I was part of the Trailblazers, a gentleman was teaching us about the stars. I felt an unusual connection to the constellation of Orion. I couldn't explain it, but clearly it would become a very profound connection. When I was 16 years old, there was an injured bird, and I put my hands around it and did what I thought was running energy in an attempt to heal it. It didn't exactly work, but I thought, I should be able to do this. I was a precocious child, apparently speaking in adult-type words and ideas at an early age. When I was 17, I went to the bookstore to find a book that would explain my ability to read people's minds. Looking in the New Age section of that book on the left-hand side there, ghosted off the shelf and fell to my feet. So I was clearly like, okay, here we go. I would read all of the Jane Roberts Seth Material books. By the time I was 19 years old, there was nearly 9 of them. It was my new friend because it was confirming things I was thinking. I was thinking about past lives, parallel realities, alternate timelines, and it taught me that your thoughts create your reality. I was beginning to experience this, such as knowing what numbers would come up on the dice. Was it me? Could I just tell? Could I actually make it be the numbers that I wanted? Indeed I could.
Let's go to Vegas.
Or what a palette. I could envision anything I wanted and it would come true. I would be very careful about what I was thinking about because I only wanted the best for everyone. When I was 19 years old, my higher self merged with me and walked me into the mirror for a look. I gazed deeper into my eyes, and a voice began to speak to me as my eyes turned green. It told me 5 things. I've been here before, I lived forever, I would become a spiritual teacher in the end times, and a few other things that I'm not prepared to share. When my dog stepped in a trap and came home limping, I had to take the trap off, and his foot was really looking bad. I was a little freaked out. It was too late to take him to the veterinarian, so I did some healing energy and said I would take him to the vet in the morning. When I woke early in the morning, I took a look, and miraculously, it was as if it never happened. He was completely healed without a trace. So I was right about that bird. A lot of people have been seeing numbers synchronicities, especially this number. However, when I was in my teens, I was seeing 11:22 on the clock. Whenever I was having an epiphany, writing in my journal, or something significant, I would look and there it would be. Was somebody trying to get my attention? What did it mean? I've been seeing these number synchronicities for almost a decade before I really got to the bottom of it with my trip to Egypt. But before that, nobody had answers. Of course, I wasn't asking everybody either. Back then, very few people were open to talking about paranormal experiences. When I was watching the X-Files and Scully wakes up in the middle of the night, looks at the clock, and it turns from 11:21 to 11:22, I thought for sure somebody must know something about this. There must be something significant about this. Why else would they show this like this? Turns out it was the creator of the show's mother's birthday. But to me, it was kind of evidence that I was having these profound experiences. When I met Jillian Anderson at a bar in about 2000, I was telling her about some of my profound experiences, and she said she's really into this stuff, but David was not. She must have thought I was pretty weird. I was telling her some pretty strange things.
Maybe that's why she said no to a date.
When I slept at night, I flew. I traveled all over the place. However, when I was 21 years old, I started to have these dreams where I would wake up, and within the dream, I would wake up and think I was awake and then wake up again, and sometimes this would even happen 3 times in a row. This is often an indication that you're going to begin to have very profound experiences of awakening. One time when I was meditating, I levitated off the bed, did not open my eyes, just realized, oh my God, I'm lifting off the bed, and as soon as I had that thought, I dropped back down. What was our mind capable of? When I had my first channeling when I was 22 years old, I asked what my connection was to the Great Pyramid, and they told me that I am the cornerstone of the Great Pyramid. In 2012, David Wilcock was telling people that he built the Great Pyramid. Well, I remember there being a team of us, and memories were flooding back in. This is why I asked this particular question at the time. I also wanted to know what my connection to King Tut was. That would be revealed when I went to Egypt also for the first time.
When I was 24, I had a vision of the future, of a global system where everything was interconnected and all finances were being ran through one platform. In the same year, I was walking down the street in my own neighborhood and I was invited into a house. I could see crystals on the shelf. I thought, oh great, I get to learn more about this. But instead, the man and the woman told me about the Chinese elders and how old they are, and a military man that ran everything, along with trading platforms and trillions of dollars, and then all this money was for projects. I thought, wow, just think what we could do with 100 million, as well as how could I possibly get involved in this? I pretty much forgot about it, and then when I was 37 years old, I met the man who was responsible for moving the gold to all the central banks. As I was envisioning using 100 million to make movies about conscious media.
I also had voices in my head, predominantly starting when I was 24, guiding me, encouraging me to look into things. The primary ascended master that was speaking to me was El Moria. Because of the computer system my father invented in 1967, I had an opportunity to go to work at the Pentagon when I was 25 years old. And I found a place where there was people channeling, because I would go to the local bookstores and figure out the psychic fairs and the like. I had a channeling where Mother Mary came through, and she told me that I would write a great book about sacred geometry and numerology. And I have to admit, at the time, I didn't even know what those two words meant. When I was about 26 years old, I was introduced to the cosmic scientist who said that he was from the future, and I was interested in virtual reality and how I could take game ideas and put them into a place where it'd be fun to learn. This man was clearly involved in the secret space program with the things that he was sharing, which were out of this world. We all slept together that night at a house where it could accommodate guests, and the experiences that I had being on board a craft and going to the Palladian system and trying out their virtual reality was mind-blowing. Who the heck was this guy, was my thought. And boy, there sure is more going on than meets the eye. Why were all these things happening to me? Were they happening to everybody else, was my thought also, and apparently not. In the year 1988, most of my friends were getting out of college and trying to figure out what to do. When I was 27 years old, I was in meditation and saw myself sitting around a campfire. I looked next to myself, and there was Jesus. This was extremely vivid, lucid type meditation. When I came out of it, I called up my psychic immediately, a channel friend that I've almost always had access to, and she told me the veil had been ripped asunder. In fact, I was the Apostle Thomas, and I would now begin to bring through many wisdom teachings. Again, I was like, okay, that sounds really cool. I again went down to the metaphysical bookstore, and this is when I discovered the Gnostic scriptures and the Gospel according to Thomas. And again, my mind was being blown as I flipped open the book. It opened right to saying number 22, which was my birthday, and again, more synchronicities confirmed as chills ran up and down my spine with what it said. I felt I knew these words. When the two become one, then you enter the kingdom of heaven. When I was living in Florida in a bad relationship, a voice told me to get up, go down to the beach. Thankfully, I lived a block away, walked on down, sat down for a meditation. The voice said, open your eyes. And I saw an orb over the water, which I thought, oh my God, get me the heck out of here. And then it just zoomed back, turned into just like a little star. And I was like, okay, I'll stay. And then it zoomed back up. And it had a message for me to get out of this relationship and get on with my life. So the next day, I broke up with her and went back to Minnesota, where I had an opportunity to go do a computer job with NATO in Germany, or go to California and work for the water and power company. So I slept on which job I should take. I knew when I woke up I needed to go to California. I was there at my new job for maybe 2 weeks when a shuttlecraft landed in the backyard. I consciously boarded it and went up to a mothership. I was shown and told about the future and things that I would do. I was encouraged to move to the middle of nowhere so I could have more contact, which I did. I saw a Arcturian on the ground standing next to a tree the first night I moved into my new place in the middle of nowhere. The beings that I had been interacting with told me that I could call them at any time they would come. So I was testing this, and indeed, they showed up. I wanted to see a spacecraft in broad daylight, so I asked for it, and the next day, this is what I saw. Flying right across the street in front of me. I was living in Northern California, had an opportunity to go to Mount Shasta and participate in the 11/11 first major planetary activation. While I was in meditation, a name was spoken in my head, very loud, Mathues. I did not know what that meant. It took me about a decade to realize, oh, that's my name, that's what they call me. And it took me quite a while to learn that it meant teacher of mathematics or sacred geometry. When I was 29, checking out Drunvalo Melchizedek, listening to a VHS, watching rather, but working on something and listening when I overheard him say that the Great Pyramid was built by 3 people, and one of the names he used was Imhotep. I was like, wow, wait, that's me. Who is that? What is that? But I just knew that that was me. I didn't even really know who that was, so when I began to look and find out, Imhotep made so much sense. Builder of the Great Pyramids, keeper of hidden wisdom. Wow, it was all becoming ever more so clear to me. And El Morya had been telling me the process of ascension, self-realization, becoming a version of our higher selves was easier than I realized. And I was still surrendering, detaching, letting go, and deepening my connection with Source and becoming more online with my higher self each year. When I was 30 years old, I channeled the 7th seal. This is an image of the exact actual 7th seal. The time traveler, cosmic scientist friend took a look at it and said, that's the seal on the Hall of Records door. I was like, wow, because I feel like I sealed the Hall of Records. I've been having visions and remembrances about this. In fact, this symbol is the sigil of the mystery school from before times. Before it was Egypt, before it's millions of years ago, quite frankly. And I knew this to be the Melchizedek Mystery School. For several years, I could take out groups and ask for a flyby, and ships would indeed give us a view. One time when I was with my cousin, he wanted to be a believer, so I called one in. It looked like this very much on the bottom. It landed down behind some trees, and we were going to go for a ride, but he chickened out. And so rather than getting on it myself, I just said, thanks guys, we'll see you next time. However, there wasn't really a next time because it was too dangerous. During that time frame, there was a lot of crafts that were attempted to be shot down. After many profound synchronicities around 11/22 and realizing that the Golden Gate of November 22nd was an extremely important portal for transformation, I heard that there was a group that was renting the Great Pyramid over the period of the 22nd, and they were going to meditate inside the King's Chamber. I wanted to be a part of this, but I didn't have a way to contact the people that were organizing it, so I turned it over to Spirit. If you need me there, want me there, I will show up, but I don't have the money. So the cosmic scientist, time traveler friend, unbeknownst shows up at my house and says, you have to go to Egypt, it's the most important thing. Here's the money to do it. So I went, and many profound things happened, and I did end up inside of the King's Chamber for a very profound activation and braiding. When I came outside afterwards, it was about midnight, And this is what I saw when I looked up at the top of the Great Pyramid. The belt stars of Orion were completely aligned. With this writing, I remembered a great deal more about my past lives, other ones that I had there, being involved in the mystery schools, etc., and began to write my book. I had a near-death experience while I was in the hospital for 3 months because I got Guillain-Barré syndrome and nearly died, as they thought for sure that I was going to die with a double pneumonia. The experience I had in the hospital, surrendering and letting go, with El Moria speaking to me often, it was a very profound experience because I was having deja vu and I knew I wasn't going to die. When I finally got out of the hospital, I was woken up in the middle of the night and the masters were communicating with me, telling me that I was ready to become the master and they would not be speaking to me in this way any longer.
And by the time I was 40, I would be involved in building a new banking system. And it would be housing quadrillions and quintillions of dollars. And as many of you know, we almost launched a new banking system in 2012 before the cabal arrested our top people. And today we have a team with an array of additional teams coordinating many aspects of new systems, new platforms, new technologies to implement a global financial system and new secure internet and safe broadband.
Okay, that's my cue. All right, so that's the first time I've ever really laid it all out, what happened to me. And boy, when the Ascended Master said, don't worry, it's going to be easy, I'm like, great, because I don't really know everything, and you expect me to go out there and do this and be this, and the information was, communicate with your soul, trust your heart. And so just like what Susie was saying earlier, all this is within us, and we just need to, spend the time going deeper. And so I did, and what you're going to see next is pertaining to, and I'll say it in 30 seconds, the Great Pyramid and its alignment to the constellation of Orion, which many of you probably don't fully understand. I mean, I talk about it all the time. And so I'm hoping to give you a little bit better elucidation on what that really means and what that looks like, because it's really profound that a message was left about the importance of that and that it pointed to a pathway of ascension, a time that we would all activate our crown chakra and become more in line with our divine oversoul, our highest self.
When I was down to visit King Tut's tomb, I waited until the room was cleared so I could have my own space tuning in, and I closed my eyes and started to feel this energy rushing through me, and all of a sudden there's a voice next to me, an Egyptian guide guy pointing at the wall, and this is Osiris, and he's pointing across my vision with a really big watch with digital numbers on it. And it was 11, 22, and 21 seconds, just turning to 22. And, I was being interrupted energetically, and so I thanked him very nicely. Yes, I know all about the gods and Egyptology. Thank you. And closed my eyes and tuned back in and really had a profound feeling of being united, sort of, with the spirit of Tut.
Apparently, he and I were very connected in a past life. I write about that in my
This is a
third
map
book.
I created with a great deal of detail, particularly with the longitude and latitude, so that I could get an exact location for the 0 point. Larry Hunter went and confirmed this is true, precisely. And it's also very interesting to note that the Sphinx is dead center to the top square, the 9th square. And a few other things to note: the Fibonacci sequence, golden mean rectangle unfolding in precision through the top of the first and second pyramid. This was made popular by Drunvalo Melchizedek. And when I went to Egypt into this map. I had one out of a book, and yet it didn't have the red line, the secant line, the straight line spiral, and I was like, that's one of the most important things. And I began to tune in and receive from my higher self that it's almost more important where these lines are coming in from. And so when I returned home from Egypt, I created a bigger version of this on the wall, again in unfurling the dimensions and ratios. I found that the straight line passes through the Palladian system, and because of the things that Larry Hunter taught me about how to understand that the pyramids, beyond the three great ones, there are other ones that are correlated with temples, and the location of the Sirius remains of a temple exist on the curved line. And these represent the magnetic and electric energies, which have a correlation to the master number 11 and 22. 22 being the master architect, master mind, 11 being the master healer, feminine and masculine respectively. So these star energies from the Palladian system and the Sirian system are being channeled into this location. Drumbelow also talked about how inside of the Great Pyramid, in the King's Chamber, that at a particular time of year, energies were channeled in from stars. So here we have exactly what's happening, and he thought that it was on November 11th that this occurred, and I'm here to share that it's more likely, if not a window, the 22nd itself, the Golden Gate.
This region of the sky was called the Phoenix by the ancients, very apropos, the Phoenix rising, resurrection, which have the correlation to the Ben stone, the capstone. The message of Osiris becoming Orion, ascending, is paramount. In so many ways, I've realized, discovered, remembered that this is a message in stone pointing the way. The roadmap to ascension becomes clear when you put all these pieces together. I was prompted to find this when I looked into numerology and learned that understanding numbers was the key to the universe. Because the Gospel of Thomas talked about the two becoming one, the male and the female, above and below, and the like. I looked at the words that describe that, and I found 1122 embedded in some of the most significant words. The path to enlightenment is described in the story and is echoed in the stars, which are mirrored on the ground. And as the synchronicity of everything that was happening guided me along this path, it's almost like it started to reveal itself to me. With the synchronicity around 1122 being so profound, I couldn't ignore it. The lines that are talked about coming off the top of the head of the Sphinx that point to the celestial visage of equinox and solstice risings had two lines that weren't talked about, 14 degrees above, 14 degrees below. As I dialed in astronomy and astrology software, I found that the dates at 14 degrees above and below was 1122 and 522. And more significantly, the causeway, like the one going down to the Sphinx, points to 1122. And the one going off of the Great Pyramid points to 522. And talk about a synchronicity, that's my birthday, the Silver Gate. The story in the sky, or the gospel in the sky, with all the characters around the wheel, describe the path to ascension as well, focused on the cusps of 522 and 1122, with Orion and the bull representing the Silver Gate. All this information was so important that it was laced through all the imagery. The story echoes it, emphasizes it in a variety of ways, too numerous to get into here in this overview. Suffice it to say, the evidence is really overwhelming. Taken as a whole, it's very difficult to deny a message was left in stone.
The lines that tell the story are emphasized in symbolism that we see over and over again. The secant line, which means the line that bifurcates a square, resounded inside of my being as the most important. Boy, that certainly would be the case. Let's take a closer look at why. Zooming in here on what the red line.
The red line is the secant line.
It passes through the right shoulder of the Sphinx.
What's
and
that?
through the doorway of the
Steps going down.
Diamond Temple, the only temple in all of Egypt that's not aligned north and south perfectly. I actually remember building this temple as it's part of my story pertaining to.
There's 22 steps on 10, 11 on each side, which is also very
This temple commemorates the understanding of the line, the hidden message for ascension, along with the knowledge that the hollow records exist below. In fact, I learned of a man that was digging a hole in the bottom of his house to access
Right
the
about here.
tunnels and find gold that they would sell. This is a common thing that would occur around the city there. And he actually struck red granite. When the authorities learned about this, they shut him down because he actually hit the top of the hollow records. It's most profound to realize that that location is essentially the intersection of a longitude and latitude number that ends in 2233 as the final.
That blew my mind. Are you
As I
kidding me?
continue to do my spiritual work and have my own deeper activation and integration, more of my higher self stepped in, resulting in more and more details pertaining to this fuller system, with a greater understanding emerging in my mind pertaining to the bigger number of messages I was finding. It became clear to me that the message that was left in the English language was one of the most important things ever discovered. And as all the elements of this system came together, a very clear path to ascended consciousness emerged, and the keys to hidden wisdom unlocked the doors to the most ancient mystery school, the one that Enoch would attend. He was brought to ancient Egypt, met the Ancient of Days who was on the throne, describing all these things in very exacting detail, and was taught by Uriel the divine source code, a deeper understanding of the zodiac secrets. He would see marvels of wisdom and technology, for he called the pyramids mountains, and on the sides, the alabaster shone so bright that it blinded you. The total number of pyramids in the complex equaled 9, except when you had the little tiny one there down at the corner. It's essentially like the 0 point. When the sun hits on a particular day, the visage that is created is outstanding.
Look at that. That little one makes the
architecture and
same
construction
image.
itself evinces that of otherworldly beings involved in the development. And the wisdom it portrays itself is most sublime.
Wow. So it all adds up. It keeps adding up. Everything pointing to November 22nd. It's even highlighted on the side of the Great Pyramid. So that wasn't even half as profound as that I kept finding the words that tell the story about our ascension being encoded through numerology into the same message. That words like feels was an 11 and mind was 22.
All right, let's go further down the rabbit hole. I knew there were ancient keys coded within the core story that was unfolding. After about a decade of deepening on my spiritual path, I was being shown more and more, and knew I was cracking the code, cracking the seventh seal. I had been revealing things that secret societies probably wanted to keep secret. I was not allowed to come up with this information until the seventh seal had opened. When the sixth seal opened 4 Easters ago,
It's 11:22 right now. As I look at the clock. Where's my sound guy?
lunar eclipse, which began a series of blood moons, and This was the activation and opening of the third eye, the sixth seal, for the planet. For those who were ready to embark on a more spiritual journey. As we have had many divine alignments preparing us for these grander awakenings. All the waves that are coming in from the sun and the golden gate and silver gate alignments to the central sun have been preparing us to awaken even further. The activations utilizing the seventh seal activator have accelerated the awakening of the crown chakra, aligning us and awakening us to divine consciousness, ever the more so going on aligned with the oversoul, the highest level, the highest selves.
Again, all this is in my video, so you don't have to try to absorb it all.
Was an acceleration of synchronicities that exposed us to more number sequences that activated our DNA. 112233 as a master code sequence was embedded in the English language by St. Germain so that we would have the power of spoken word aligned with our desire and intent for the greatest manifestation possible. My own self-discovery journey and the manifestation path that I focused on endlessly for decades was discovering the numbers. I looked at thousands of words around the story, around the understanding of the path to enlightenment. I kept finding words and phrases that end up to 22. And I would find many number patterns that clearly suggested this was intelligence at work and not coincidence. I would come to confirm this divine intelligence over and over, realizing that all the major words that describe the basic tenets of our reality, the most important pillars in our systems of existence, all add up to 9. Some of this is going to be moving kind of fast, but for your in-depth perusal, it all exists in video form on YouTube. So we're doing a highlight type overview so that we can have enough general foundation for everybody to comprehend the innermost holy of holies, which is the core of the St. Germain Codes. Many of us have come to understand, or at least recognize, the Star David symbol, which would become the central image and message for reaching enlightenment. The numbers that correspond to the letters on each of the points spell the message. To me, anyway, because my father invented that computer system, and one of the commands for sending a message or a text was MSG. So this stood out as something that I couldn't miss. The amount of number synchronicities that I experienced is hard to recount, as there were so many that spurred me along to some of the greatest discoveries I've ever seen. There are multiple ways you can use ciphers and gematria to uncover hidden messages or even pictures encoded with numbers and shapes that describe.
This was actually from the Gnostic Mystery School.
We covered that in other videos. When I first found the English cipher, not the simple numerology, but a different one that is not that well known. And I ran my name, it equaled my birthday. That was pretty freaky. Yet another profound synchronicity. And when I did my full birth name, that equaled the number of pyramid inches in the ascending passageway of the Great Pyramid. Well, obviously that would excite me to no end, especially since about 20 years ago I discovered that the Silver Gate is also on my birthday and that the Great Pyramid points to it. I would become like a dog with a bone. I needed to know who put these codes in this system, who created such a system that would carry this information into this day for us to have it to awaken more. So I asked my higher self to start revealing it to me, and well, of course it did. But before I came to a conclusive proof and a level of certainty that it was in fact St. Germain as Sir Francis Bacon, which would take the foundational system to another level, I would have erected many sturdy wisdom pillars in this sacred temple that would prove that the English language is a very positive thing, that was painstakingly crafted. Take a look at this. One of the central themes to all of this is that a correlation to the zodiac is more significant than anybody realizes. The church knew, and they tried to understand and capture the power and control us. Is it just a coincidence that JFK was killed on November 22nd? It most likely was a ritual to optimize the alignment on the Golden Gate for their negative energy intentions. In many ways, we're taking back our power, understanding the symbolism that they tried to program us with. If you haven't checked out my material yet, it's quite the complex system that explains a great many things. We're going to go deeper, uncovering what was hidden. The German Lutherans were the first to put a triangle behind the altar, which became the all-seeing eye. Did they know about this number system? It's most likely that they did, as it seemingly had been passed down orally, as we have a lot of evidence of, from the ancient Melchizedek Mystery School. The numbers 1 through 9 and the words that describe those values hold many secrets. I don't expect you to grasp all this information. You're actually getting activations by the energies that are coming off of this information. So while I will go a little deeper into explanation, rest assured, energy, light, frequency, they're all permeating you as this information is being absorbed by your subconscious. There are 3 types of words that describe the number of values. There are 3-letter words, 1, 2, 6. There are 4-letter words, 4, 5, 9. And there are 5-letter words, 3, 7, and 8. The secret societies, such as the Rosicrucian Order, which St. Germain created, has a key that represents a legend of information. 3 teeth on the key that state red, white, and blue. Is it possible this is why the English flag and the American flag are red, white, and blue? This number grouping also incorporates 3, 4, 5, Pythagorean theory, which are the dimensions of the Great Pyramid. Inherent within the information that our reality is held together with, remember, information is light and frequency, carries divine intelligence, such as when numerology is done on the frequency table, you can see on the left there, a number pattern emerges that repeats over and over. The number sequence is grouped into red, white, and blue. For the sake of understanding, the series of numbers are auto-magically, in essence, grouped into our 3 sets of number word values. The first grouping, 1, 2, 6, has a correlation to the total number value of the grid of all numbers that represent the letters A through Z. The Grand Gallery of the Great Pyramid is at an angle of 261 degrees. Same set of numbers. Any three numbers in any order are essentially carrying the same vibration. Not necessarily frequency, but information vibration. Here are a series of phrases that are either 261, 126, or 612. There's some very powerful statements here. The word is key, the beginning and the end. God is geometry, the throne of God. Frequency is the key, the way to ascend. It's very intriguing to see that Jewish gematria has it coded as well. The Hebrew word in the image adds up to 162. There are numerous examples of this. We certainly don't have time to go through it all. Seekers in the Renaissance wanted to find the pristine language, the original angel language, a way to communicate with God. Was the divine source code passed down to us? It seems so. Seth is considered to be the father of astrology and time. Measuring our cycles and seasons, his name falls on the line of the middle pillar, the way to ascend. The Magi were star worshippers from the lineage of Seth. Their secret order protected the divine source code and transmitted it orally for thousands of years, protecting hidden wisdom about the book of Numbers and the little book, the playing cards, which are the most ancient divination system. When my third eye opened to the next level on the sixth seal activation in 2014, I synchronistically discovered this Magi sigil on the internet and was able to see right through it. There are many layers of coded sequences and information here. One that serves our theme today pertains to the zodiac. Number 238 becomes very significant. For the words that describe the three types of zodiac signs numerologically match. And some of the most important words in our story of spiritual enlightenment add up to the same value.
Okay, the final little segment is going to absolutely show the core St. Germain Code. And it's irrefutable that this was all divinely inspired and by the hand of human encoded for us to have this information. And that was off by a few minutes, so, connecting the thought to the image maybe wasn't happening, but again, this is all available through my website and my YouTube that you can have access to this information for a deeper understanding.
All right, in this final segment, we are going to get into the Hermetic science and the magic alchemy that Thoth talks about as the way to ascend. This wisdom he discovered and perfected. It states in the Emerald Tablets that he asked to be shown the path, seeking the way to the higher wisdom. He said, "Show me the way to the Word." He was told the way to accomplish that was through order. There are 7 Hermetic principles that define the path and the order. They essentially outline these principles. Have shown that the fabric of the universe is a balance between these polarities, and the underlying numbers resolve back to 9. Light and dark add up to 11 and 7 respectively. Surely the perfect balance of these two could be considered order. All elements of ordering thoughts for creation require language, elucidated with alphabet numbers, and desire is energy, energy and motion, emotions. The Egyptian god of wisdom left us some very powerful messages. Let's take a deeper look. The emerald tablets record, deep are the mysteries around thee, hidden the secrets of old. Search through the keys of my wisdom, surely you shall find the way. The gateway to power is secret, but he who attains it shall receive. Seek ye the path of the word, and the power shall surely be thine. Once in a time long forgotten, I, thus opened a doorway, penetrated into other spaces, and learned of the secret concealed. Deep in the essence of matter are many mysteries concealed. I built a great pyramid patterning after the pyramid of the earth forces, burning eternally so that it too might remain there through the ages. In it built my knowledge of magic science, so that it might be there when I return. Have the clues to this super science been right in front of our eyes all along? Has the way been hidden in plain sight? Let's look a little deeper. Though it says, deep beneath the image lies my secret. Search and find in the pyramid I built. Each to the other is the keystone. Each the gateway that leads into life. Follow the key I leave behind. Seek, and the doorway to life shall be thine. Seek thou in my pyramid, deep in the passage that ends in a wall. Use thou the key of 7, and open to thee the pathway will fall. When I first read this stuff 20 plus years ago, I felt I understood it. Let me show you how it pieces together. I spent an entire decade reading everything I could get my hands on. Ancient scriptures, the Bible, secret manuscripts. I innately knew a truth was out there, and I was looking for the evidence that painted the whole picture. I have assembled all the shards I have found in my book, and here we're highlighting the most important ones from the Gnostic scriptures. The message of two becoming one is plain. Jesus says, unless you make the left hand like the right hand, and the things above like the things below, and the things in front like the things behind, you will not realize the kingdom. This is very similar to the Gospel of Thomas, saying number 22, which essentially says the same thing in different terms. Make the male so that it's not male, and the female so that it's not female. Make the above like the below, etc. Though says the same thing here. Seek to find the path to the beyond. Not impossible is it to grow to a consciousness above, for when the two have become one, and one has become all. Know ye the veil is lifted, and ye are made free of the pathway. Grow thou from form to the formless. Free may thou be of the road bound. You starting to get the picture? It appears Plato did, because he says perhaps there's a pattern set up in heaven for one who desires to see it, and having seen it, to find one in himself. The only stars talked about in the Bible and the Book of Dead are in the region here. A key of 7. 7 stars make up the constellation of Orion. 7 Pleiades, and Sirius actually is called Sept in ancient Egypt, and Sept means 7. There's a great deal of emphasis on this location, as we've come to see. The book of Revelations emphasizes 7 in a variety of ways. In the end time, 7 trumpets, 7 seals opened. Look at the stained
Opening the crown.
Book with 7 seals on the left and 7 stars on the right.
And Orion in the middle.
Wisdom of all this was paramount. It's becoming more and more clear the ancients understood this stuff, because here in their Hermetica it says, do you know Asclepius, which is Greek for Imhotep? That Egypt is in Egypt heaven, or to speak more exactly, in Egypt, all the operations of the powers which rule and work in heaven have been transferred to the earth below. The Bible used to have a section called the Apocrypha, which has since been removed, likely because of the hidden wisdom that they didn't want you to know. Because here in the wisdom of Solomon, it says, he himself gave me true understanding of things as they are, and knowledge of the structure of this world, and the operation of the elements, the beginning and the end of epochs in their middle course. Aha! The alternating solstices and the changing seasons, the cycles of the years and constellations.
That's the middle course,
The
the
nature
middle way.
of the living creatures. The gospel of the stars and the middle way, the middle course, the way to ascend. It's echoed in Egypt, the two become one, upper and lower, when these two individuals who were arch enemies join on November 7th. The mind and the heart, the male and the female, become one. The keys were known in more than one ancient civilization. Here we can see Enki and Enlil. Look at their headgear. Symbols of the Golden Gate and the Silver Gate, the horns and the scorpion. Sir Francis Bacon, who faked his death and became St. Germain, was remembered in his past lives as Thoth. As he downloaded the wisdom, he crafted a way to hide it in plain sight within the English language. He learned cryptography and created a cipher and hid his life story and keys to the wisdom behind the mask of Shakespeare. This has been conclusively proven. We don't have enough time to go through all that, other than he communicated that he knew about these sacred sciences. When he was a Lord Chancellor for King James, he was given the task to edit the King James Version Bible and encoded it and left his mark in many places. He left evidence that showed us he knew about the Golden Gate and Silver Gate, the twin brothers. This is evidenced by codes that demonstrated he knew the significance of the Silver Gate and Gemini, because Shakespeare comes from the Roman god who shook spears, who represent Gemini.
Wow.
The divine twins are keepers of the hidden wisdom. He created the headpiece for the Bible and encoded it. It has the living characters, the 4 fixed signs, in the 15 men at the top, which represent the Merkaba, as we've come to know. There's hidden 4 symbols for the 4 elements and 4 suits of the Tarot and Destiny cards. The shaded man in the very middle has a 7 symbol in his hand, or a square, the mason's tool. The equidistant cross, which is wood right next to him, represents the importance of the cross of the fixed signs. He hid Shakespeare's, 2 of them, one showing the point, the other the handle or butt. Symbolism, the Freemasons demonstrated the angle of the middle way. In 1613, the J did not exist in the English language. It wasn't used in print form until 1633, while Bacon was crafting the English language, creating words that tell the story and hide the wisdom of a deeper understanding of a meta-numerology, a 3-digit code system that corresponds to frequency, which was crafted around 5 points for the importance of phi ratio, and a deeper understanding of the importance of the phi ratio as Mother Nature's formula for creation. His cipher allowed him to craft certain keywords and phrases that highlighted 1122. Here are some very significant ones. Most astonishing is the made-up name, William Shakespeare, adds up to 1122, as does 2 shall become 1.
Wow.
It's hard to fathom the amount of intellectual prowess that went into strategizing such a massive feat. And now for the grand finale, the core of the St. Germain Codes, channeled from my higher self when the 6th seal opened. When we organize the names of the signs of the zodiac, along with their respective numerological values, conducting the same thing for the months and their corresponding values, some astonishing things become clear. By organizing the quarters of the year, grouping signs and months in their year order sequence, a profound pattern emerges.
that conclusively proves the English language was coded to tell this story by virtue of the fact that the months and signs of the zodiac match the Fibonacci sequence. That's right, the message in stone of the alignment of the Great Pyramids and their orientation to the Fibonacci sequence points the way to ascending consciousness and the way home, to our divine selves, our divine birthright. And the way to attain it has been preserved right before our very eyes. And the other most important points on the zodiac wheel and their corresponding numbers carry the signature of the divine creator. Fulfilling yet another Nostradamus prophecy, they will come to discover the hidden topography of the land, which I've discerned as Giza, the urns holding wisdom within the monuments, the pyramids. Opened up, their contents will cause the understanding of holy philosophy to expand greatly. White exchanged for black, falsehoods exposed, new wisdom replacing the established tradition that no longer work. Nostradamus also predicted the fall of what I call churchianity. How's that for divine order?
All right. Did you comprehend that? Fibonacci sequence, we're all learning about it, right? Mother Nature's formula. Everything unfolds according to it. So it's also the path and the way back to our higher consciousness. So the seventh seal is loaded with all this information, and that's why it activates, that's why it works. And that's why I don't have any more time.